And one of the things that we base everything on is love. That's the first lesson is we go over, are you telling your child you love them? And I use that book, The 5 Love Languages, and I go over how how our different love languages are. If your child's love language is gifts, and you're saying I love you, they're not going to hear it. You can buy them the little Snickers candy bar they like, and oh, Mama loves me. Right. Or it might be that they wouldn't need the words of affirmation, and you put the little note in their book, hey, proud of you, you can do great today. Mm-hmm. And what a difference that makes. I had a lady that was taking a class. She was raising a child that really was not connected to her at all. It's just she ended up with this little boy. He was 8 years old, and we were talking about positive reinforcement, those kind of things. And she says, well, he doesn't do anything right. I said, well, you got to find something he does right so you can praise him. Finally, I said, because I got little boys, I said, does he flush the commode? And she goes, well, yes, he does, and he puts the seat down. And I said, great. I said, go home next week. I give them homework. I said, praise him for doing that. I ain't doing that stupid. I said, you're in my class. Play along with me just for a week and let's see what happens. The next week she comes in, and this lady is like in her late 70s, and she starts bawling in my class. She said it was like somebody threw a light switch on. This child was 8 years old, and when I praised him for flushing the commode and putting the seat down, it was the first time that child had ever been praised for anything. And she said all week long he's been trying to do everything he can to hear, you've done good.
That's awesome. And that's one little,
that's just one little nip, because I've been doing it for, I think, 8 years, because I took it right after you did, because to help me be a better parent. And being a pastor, I get to use this information to people in my church. I help them when parents, because they'll come to a pastor before they come to law enforcement. Because of what you were talking about earlier. But so, and what we teach, you can use in day-to-day life.
Right.
Well,
and I think that's powerful too, that both of you guys have said that you took it from somebody else and it impacted you. And so it's not, practice what you preach kind of thing.
Yeah, I did it, and I said, man, this is great. Jamie was leaving. I said, what I got to do to be I can teach? So I rallied up some money, flew out to California, took the class, got certified, and came back, and been teaching ever since.
You said about 8 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
I believe that's about right.
I think that's about right. So something you said off camera that I want to touch on, and it might be this and other things. The little things, because obviously this is going to be like 2 minutes long, and your class is
10 weeks long.
Right, 10 weeks long. But some practical things that people can take even just from watching this, and the hug one was huge. Talk about that.
The hug. When your child comes home, you need to be up, and when they come in the door, you stand up, you hug them, and what you're doing is you're checking their motor skills. You're smelling them. Do they smell like there's something going on? You're looking in their eyes, and you say the 3 most important words you can say to your child every day: I love you. And you send them off to bed. That way and because you need to know what kind of clothes was your child wearing when they left the house. Are they wearing the same clothes? Do they smell like Febreze? Ding, 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 an alarm goes off. Why are they smelling like Febreze? And if I know that I've got to come and hug you and get that personal, I'm less apt to do something that would make mama or daddy upset. Right. And if you're up, that shows me that you really care. If you're laying in bed and I got to stick my head through the door, you have no idea what's going on with me, or even who's with me.
10 weeks, Thursday nights.
6:30.
6:30. I'm trying to think about, it's tough to summarize that, because is there a way that you can kind of 30,000-foot view progression? You said you start with love. Mm-hmm. What are kind of the ways that you guys walk through the program?
Well, we go with love, and then we start with how to influence your child versus controlling your child. We control things. We don't control children. We influence them. Okay, we go from that, and then we get into teaching parents. A big one is timeouts for the parent, so that we don't say something or do something in anger that we can't take back. And then we get into how do we set the household up? How do we set up house rules? If I expect you to do things, I need to have it in print. I need to have it up on the refrigerator so you know what the rules and regulations are. If I expect you to empty the trash every Tuesday and Thursday, it ought to be on a note so that you don't go, well, I forgot. Those kind of things. And then we get into how do we set the bed, like we talked earlier about how do we set the bedroom up. What's a bedroom? Should be a bed, a dresser, and that's it. You don't need any electronics in the room. Clean the room up. Let the bedroom be where you sleep. stay out, you need to be monitoring what your child's doing on their phones, on their computers, and those kind of things. And then we transition that on into active listening. How do we learn to listen to our children? And in that process, we also teach our children how to talk to us. How do we communicate with our children? We really stress that. Yeah, active supervision. If there's one thing I could get parents to know, is active supervision. The who, what, where, when, and why. Of who you're going to be with the whole time you're gone. What are you going to be doing from the time you leave the door to the time you come back? When are you leaving and when are you coming back? Okay? And then the big question, why? Why should I let you go? You know? When my boys, I wrote it down on a piece of paper and handed it to them, let them fill it out. You know? It's an easy way to do it. That way you know there's nothing worse than, a tragedy happening. You don't even know where your child's at. Well, is that my child or is that not my child? But if I've gotten this, and then we teach the spot check, where you have to show up out of the blue and check that who, what, where, when, and why. And it only takes once or twice to do that. And your child learns, is mama or daddy showing up? And it makes them behave. When you know that there's a presence watching, you have a tendency to behave a little bit better, less apt. And the kids that would be a bad influence on your child are not going to hang around your child because they know crazy mama's coming. She's going to drop in and see what we're doing.
That's too funny. Is that your... I heard someone out there, and I was wondering if that was yours.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think
don't want you to miss it if it was.
No, that's all right.
I'm trying to think. Oh, baseline. You mentioned this off camera,
Yes.
and I want to talk about this because I think that's huge too. Because knowing, like, if your child is baseline pretty moody, then maybe that's not the signs that they're thinking of suicidal things.
Right.
But if your child is baseline real happy and then out of nowhere is not, that might be a key sign. So, she. I don't know.
I'm not sure. Okay.
But yeah, so talk about that. Knowing your child at a baseline.
Yeah.
What is that? What does that look like?
One of the things that we teach is having that meal once a day. You need to spend time with your child so that you know how your child thinks, what their personality is like, so that you have a baseline so that if there is a negative influence is starting to creep in, you'll notice the changes. Their friends have changed. The way they dress, the way they speak changes, and you can know that. Or if they're thinking possibility of suicide or runaway, there'll be indicators which we teach to watch for. But you got to have that baseline so you know, hey, I've got a child that's moody all the time, or I got a child that's Miss Sunshine. Well, she's Miss Sunshine, and all of a sudden she changes from bright colored clothes to dark colored clothes and just moody all the time. Why? What's that influence? Right. What's causing that? Right. And that's those indicators you can watch for. And you can watch for, I teach parents, you need to be checking their trash. Most kids, if they're going to commit suicide, they practice notes. Wow. When you empty the trash, you need to kind of look at the trash. You need to pay attention to those kind of things. What are they doing? If you got a child that's never writing notes and all of a sudden you go to empty the trash in the room and it's full of note paper, what's going on? Wow. You got to watch for those kind of signs.
Yeah, I've never heard that before. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Have you had, I'm sure you have, you told the story about the parent who came back and burst into tears, but what about parents who maybe were in one of your first classes 8 years ago or even 4 years ago and they come back to you? What are some of the things that you've heard from parents about how it's changed not just their life but their child's life and then probably their grandchildren's life?
Mainly of the active supervision, how that helped keep their child out of trouble, and how we teach about active listening and how to recognize people's love languages, right. So that you can say that's helped marriages. I've had, matter of fact, one of the first classes I taught, we were at Sam's, and it's been 5 years, and a lady comes running up, hugs me and thanks me. My wife's standing there like going, what's going on? And this is a lady that I had in that class, and she said the class saved her life and saved her marriage and saved her child because of the way that we teach how to communicate and with our child. We also turn around and you can use that same set skills for your relationship with your marriage, and it helped build their marriage up. And their child had graduated high school and was going to college, and was still doing that active supervision with her parents, the who, what, where, when, and why of what she was doing on the weekends and those kind of things. Yeah. And it just, that's the moments I go, aha, this is why I'm doing it. And it works.
How do you balance that active supervision, that showing up places. And there might not be a clear-cut answer, because I'm thinking in my head, if my parent had done that when I would have been mortified, I would have hated them for doing that. So like, and that's tough for parents, feeling hated by their kids. So how do you balance that? Where is the line of like, I need to trust my child and give them some space?
Well, you don't want to over smother the child.
Right.
And we're talking about a child that you suspect may be a little wild.
Okay.
And if we have two types of children. We have compliant and non-compliant. A compliant child's going to do exactly what you ask, when you do it, how you do it. Non-compliant, strong-willed child like I was is going to go, Nat, you didn't tell me not to do that, so I'm doing this. Okay, that's a child you need to spot check on. And it only takes once or twice. So if my child's mad at me for a week and it keeps him safe, hallelujah, I've done my job as a parent. That's, my job is not to be my child's best friend. It's to be their parent, their guardian, who looks after them, who takes care of their best interest.
Right. Perfect. I'm trying to think. How do people find out about the class? How do they get?
Usually, large percentage of our folks are through DSS. They get court ordered. We have flyers out, and word of mouth. I've had other parents that, hey, you need to go to this class. It helped us. Right. I went through it as a parent when it first started in Aiken County, to help me be a better parent and to help people at my church, because I'm a pastor. That helps. The thing is, I teach on Thursday night, but I'm willing to come to any social gathering, school, church, and teach this. I can condense this to a weekend program for somebody, just to kind of give them some pointers. Because if the earlier I can get into a family with these information, the better off the family's going to be. Right. If I can get you thinking ahead of time of dating rules for my daughter or dating rules for my son, we go over that. Why do you date? What's the purpose of dating? Okay, when should we start letting them group date, single date? How far away from the house you're letting them go? Those kind of things. And once you start letting your child know that at an early age, honey, you're not wearing makeup until you're 16, 15, whatever you decide, that's your business. But you need to start sharing those. And we teach parents, that's one of the things we got over too, is we talk about family values. Are you sharing your values to your child? Those kind of things. What do we value? I want you to be a trustworthy person. I want you to show up on time. Be time conscious. Those kind of things. And we go over all that.